Hi everyone. I hope you're having a nice transition into fall. It started out pretty rainy here, but now it's pretty nice outside. So hopefully, hopefully that means that we'll be able to get outside and get some fresh air and sunshine. Because he's definitely always better behaved when he's able to get outside and get some exercise. I know you want to see him, so. Callan, Callan, hi. You say hi. Yeah, I know he's getting big. I've been wanting to post videos of him, but I never end up actually doing so. It's just, not something that I always think about as often as I should, and, it's been very busy around here. So, anyway, I wanted to tell a story about a pretty big mistake that I made when I was in junior high school. So it came to mind when I started seeing memes about like people wanting to hex Trump and like you should hex Trump and blah blah blah. And I always make a point to tell people not to say things like that and not to like do things like that. And it's not I'm not a Trump supporter by any means. But it's wrong for many reasons, and I wanted to talk about why, and like this story will tell a lot of it. So, well, when I was younger, I was bullied a lot. I'm sure I've mentioned that in other videos before. There was one girl in particular that really had it out for me. She made my life a living hell at the time, and it got to the point where like I didn't even want to go to school because it was just so bad. And it was all because of this drama that I had gotten her friend grounded and all this stuff. And I did, but it was more like I inadvertently got her grounded. It was more my mom that got her grounded. That's a long story that I don't feel like I should tell just because it's not really like the point of the story. So anyway, this girl kind of like she started out being my friend, kind of like she was in my friend circle. She never really gave me problems. She was always pretty nice to me, and she even stuck up for me like once or twice, which is surprising. Um, Due to the fact that she ended up being even worse than most of the bullies that bullied me. That she kind of told to F off, but anyway, without going on a tangent about the dynamics of the relationship, um, she she had she would do this thing where like even though she was bullying me, like once in a while she'd be nice to me, but it was to get something out of me, like whether it was like money or like accessories or even like writing utensils or something. If she wanted it, she'd manipulate me and in order to take it. Anyways, she had she had really liked this hair clip that I had bought. It was like this shiny purple hair clip, and she's like, "Oh, can I borrow it?" And I'm like, "No, I really don't feel like giving it to anybody." I was wearing it, so like it's like, well, why would I want to take it out of my hair just to give it to you? And she's like, "Oh, please, I'll give it back. I'll give you this hair tie as collateral." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever." I didn't really have that plan in my head when I agreed to do that. But anyway, she gave me her hair tie, and there were strands of hair in it, which is, if she had known, she would probably agree that it was a stupid thing to do. But anyway, she gave me her hair tie, and I took it, and of course she never gave me back my hair clip, so that was kind of one of the straws that broke the camel's back. And so I don't know if I saw it on TV or if I read it somewhere or if somebody told me, but somehow I got the how to make like make and execute the whole like voodoo doll thing, and I obviously didn't get as much information as I should have, because had I known what I was doing, I definitely wouldn't have messed with that. But it was kind of a heat of the moment, shits and giggles kind of thing. I didn't really think that it was actually gonna do anything. I thought that, like, I'll, almost like see if it works kind of thing. If there's anything to it. But anyway, my mom was burning this really nice lavender scented candle, and I know that she really liked lavender, if not the herb, then like the color. So I'd always see her wearing like lavender stuff, lavender makeup, clothes, accessories, that kind of thing. The hair clip that she took from me was lavender. The hair tie she gave me was lavender. So I'm like, oh, I heard that if you make a wax doll, you can make a voodoo doll out of it. So I took some of the wax, I molded it into a doll that looked like her, or more like a sculpture, not really a doll, you can wax doll, but, or maybe you can. Anyway, so I like made this wax sculpture doll thing, and I took some of the hair out of the hair tie, I wrapped it around the doll completely from head to toe, and then I took a sewing needle, thought of every little bit shred of misery she had caused me, and I basically chanted in my head that I wanted her to suffer all the pain that I had suffered, and then I stabbed it right in the heart, and I kind of felt a release. I thought that it was just because, like, I kind of released that anger. He's just so cute. Anyway, so I had done that, and like I thought that maybe it was just kind of me, I don't know, if, like, working past how I felt, or like just kind of releasing the anger that I had. I didn't really think that it had anything to do with what I was actually doing, as stupid as that sounds, but kids do stupid things all the time. But now that I'm older and I'm looking back on like what I did and how I felt, what I was actually feeling was, see, when you do a hex, you kind of bind the energy between you and that person, whether you realize it or not. And you not only do that, but you change the energy current, you change the timeline for that person as well as yourself. You basically tinker with the deck of cards that you have and what that person has. And I definitely do believe in like the multiverse theory. They've more or less proved it. So like there are a number of different realities for both you and that person, and when you do something like that, you mess with both of those. The reality for you and that person. So I was kind of feeling like a shift, which may have felt good in the moment, but in the long run, it was really just me creating a new path of destruction for both me and her. See, after that happened, she ended up moving, and she ended up moving to the same town where my father lived. And on weekends here and there, I'd see her like walking down the street or whatever. I wouldn't acknowledge her, but I'm like, oh, there she is. And something about her seemed different, just a different vibe. You know what I mean? Not good, not bad, just different. Because she always seemed very like happy, hip, cool. Well, maybe not happy, but you know what I mean, like cocky happy, I guess. Like she was better than everybody else. And when I saw her when I was walking down the street, she just seemed a bit more like down, just angry, I guess. And then I found out through the grapevine when I spent the summer with my father a couple years after that. he had signed me up for day camp, which I really didn't want to go to day. I felt like I was too old, but he didn't know what else to do with me because he had to work those days, and he really didn't want me just hanging around his apartment all day long. And I guess I can understand that now, but at times like, oh, I really have to go to camp. But I ended up talking to a few people that like. I ended up talking to a few people there. I didn't make any like long lasting friendships or anything. But there was this one girl I was talking to, and she ended up bringing up this girl, the one that I hexed, and she was like, yeah, there's this girl named blah blah blah. I'm not gonna say her name. There's this girl, and she's a real slut, and blah 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 blah, just saying all this horrible things about her, and I'm like, oh, is it such and such? And she's like, yeah, how do you know her? And I'm like, well, we used to go to school together, and she used to bully the crap out of me, and she just kind of like snickered, and she's like, she basically told me that was usually the one that would end up getting bullied a lot in that school, and I'm like, oh, like that's pretty cool. So I didn't assume right away that it had anything to do with what I did. I just thought it was kind of like, an odd coincidence that kind of worked out. Like she got a taste of her own medicine and all that stuff, and I thought that was the end of that. A few years after that, I ended up finding out that like she got arrested for stealing, and I'd hear things here and there about like how she was doing, and it was never good, you know. It all came to a head like when my friend that had done time in prison, I actually ended up spending time there with her, and she had found out that she had an STD. Her baby daddy was cheating on her. This one, like all this horrible shit happened to her. I told her, I'm like, I hexed her, and she's like, no way, and she's like, it worked, that's really badass, and I was kind of gloating about it too, and then it finally dawned on me that, wait a minute, like, I had a bunch of horrible things happen to me. I was homeless. The guy that I fell in love with in college ended up leaving me when I was homeless. Like a bunch of horrible things happened to me. I'm not going to get into it right now. It's a long story. But I've mentioned a few things in my videos about like some of the stuff that happened to me, and I'm like, well, it wasn't until like years after the fact that I ended up learning about what hexes do, like how they actually work and why they are such a bad idea. That you not only bind that energy, but there's also what's referred to as the threefold law, and there are like a lot of different opinions and like things about that, like different information. There are some people that don't believe in it at all, which I don't think is a very good idea. I respectfully disagree. Because let me tell you, if I had any idea, I would not have even given it a thought to do that. It's just straight up not worth it. There are times I got very sick. I got put in a mental institution a couple of times. Like I said, I'm not going to get into all the details about the things that I went through, yeah, maybe not all of it had to do with that, but I really do feel like a lot of it did. Because you can't do something like that consequence free. It's just not how it works. It's the law. It's the laws of physics. It's pure cause and effect. That when you put out that much negative energy, that it's gonna boomerang back to you one way or the other. Hexes to me seem a lot like loan sharks. I'm sure most of you know what a loan shark is, but for those of you who don't, like when people really need or want money for like a business or like a house or a car, you name it, and they can't get a loan through legal means, they go to the mafia or some gang or like some illegal black market establishment and say, hey, look, I need money, and they're like, okay, we'll give you all the money that you need, but you have to pay us back double, or I don't know if they do double. I don't really know like a lot about the details of loan sharks, but like they'll raise the debt, and each day you don't pay it, it increases. They might break your fingers. They might burn down your house. You, the list is pretty much endless. And it's pretty much that way for hexes. It's a pretty hefty debt, and it's just not something that I feel is worth it. And trust me, like, there's one person in particular, I'm sure that I've told you about, my former stepfather, and I would love nothing more than to be able to hex him and get away with it. But you know what? It's not worth it at all. And like, do you really want something like that hanging over your head? Like, if I had known about these repercussions, I I would have found a different way to deal with the situation. I feel like if I had had if I had had more confidence and more faith in myself, um, and maybe even more people to back me up, then like I feel like I wouldn't have had to take matters into my own hands and inadvertently shoot myself in the foot. Um, like, don't ever go into this being completely ignorant of everything that it entails. Like, there are there 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 are a lot of people that practice this stuff that know a lot more than me, um, that will tell you that there are different protection spells that you can do that will keep these repercussions from happening. And I'm going to tell you right now, I wouldn't trust that for a hot minute. You can only put off the inevitable for so long. Eventually, these energies will hunt you down and they will make you pay. Just like the loan sharks, you can't run. You can't run forever. You'll always be looking over your shoulder. You'll always be waiting for that day. I mean, Cowan, hey, no. Trying to climb up on the table. Not good. Anyway, um, so I was saying, yeah, like, eventually the energies will get even, because energy is always seeking balance no matter what. And the universe really does not care one way or the other if this person deserves what they're getting or not. Um, all here's what is It's not your job to make this person suffer for what they did. Eventually, that will come to them naturally. You know. I know that you see these criminals that seem to get away with their crimes, but you know, eventually, like, even like after they die, that's going to be waiting for them. Whether you believe in hell or whether you believe in reincarnation, I personally believe in both. I mean, I'm not going to get into like what I believe and why I believe it. I mean, eventually, I'm sure I'll make a video on that too. Um, but my point being is that eventually, like, the energy will follow, and it will seek to balance itself. Um, I think that I think that there are better ways to deal with these feelings of wanting justice, wanting revenge, um, wanting to settle the score. I guess that's kind of redundant, but you know what I mean. But taking matters in your own hands and doing something like that without them knowing, without, like, without their knowledge, and you also having to suffer the consequence one way, whether you do a protection spell or not, one way or another. You're going to suffer a consequence for that. And that's definitely something that people need to be aware of before they just go hexing this person, hexing that person, hexing people that they've never met, they don't even know, like Donald Trump for example. I mean, yeah, he's not pleasant and stuff, but you don't want to go trying to hex somebody that I'm not going to get too deep into this conversation either. But those politicians, they do black magic of their own. And do you really want to go up against that? So that's also something to take into consideration too. If you want to hex a politician, I wouldn't. I mean, eventually these people are going to get what's coming to them too. All you have to do is really just sit back and wait. Because like I said, no matter who you are, it's going to be waiting for you. And I think that everybody should like at least fear a little bit that hell might be real. So just also keep that in mind too. Why wouldn't you? So anyway, that's my story. Oh, and I don't want to leave out the ending. I did end up doing something to break that binding spell, and now I feel like I felt a big weight lifted off of my shoulders, and I don't know where this girl is on her journey, but I hope that that things did get better for her. I hope that she learned a lot of valuable lessons, as I have, and that her life has gotten better. Because I could tell that there was pain underneath. I don't know what was going on with her at home. I don't know really any of her life story. So I'm sure that a lot of the anger that she showed toward me had little to nothing to do with me. I was just the whipping girl. I was a lot back then. So, yeah, I mean, even though we had a lot of hostility toward each other, I still wish the best for her. So I'm going to end it here. The video has been longer than I intended it to be anyway. So anyway, until next time, have a good one. Peace.